Welcome back on this Monday to the Now Detroit.
Good to have you with us today. Governor Rick Snyder is in Metro Detroit today to push his new plan to overhaul Detroit public schools. Under the governor's plan, a new debt-free school district called the Detroit Community School District will focus on education with a 7-member school board, while the old DPS will be used solely to pay off debt.
Joining us now, Michigan Governor Rick Snyder. Thank you so much for being here. You've listed 3 reasons now for doing what you're doing here. It's the declining enrollment, which is a pretty significant number, low student achievement, and staggeringly rising debt.
Absolutely, Stephen. And the things we need to solve are we need better academic performance, whether you're in DPS, a charter, or the EAA. We want to solve the financial issues so we can have greater stability and long-term success, because look at the city of Detroit. The next step is to get the schools successful and then dealing with governance to have a long-term solution that really works for the citizens of Detroit and all of Michigan.
Let's talk about the debt. How long realistically under this plan do you think it would take to pay it off?
Yeah, the estimate we have, the number we're using is $715 million, and that will go to the old school district, old CO, the old DPS. It will move the millage with it, so there will be an operating millage that would pay that off over 10 years.
10 years.
Explain again, because I know we talked about this a few months ago when you first proposed this idea of an old school district to exist solely to pay off the debt with its own school board, just to pay off the debt, and then a new school district, you're starting from the ground up, fresh school district.
Yeah.
That will actually educate the kids. Now, are they going to use the same school buildings? I mean, how deep do we go on that?
No, I appreciate it, Stephen, and I apologize. Some of this gets a little complicated, and it's good to be an accountant, so I'll try to make this as straightforward as possible. The idea is let's get the debt, the operating debt, away from the schools themselves and free up resources to put in the classroom. So by leaving the debt and the millage with Old Co., which would be by the old Detroit School Board, that will get paid off over 10 years. So we'll take care of the historic debt and some operating debt expected to happen in the future. New Co. would get all the assets, all the contracts, all the teachers, all the responsibilities. So just think of it as a successor organization. By leaving the debt there, we free up about $1,100 that was in debt service per student to go into the classroom. That's huge. That's a big opportunity.
And obviously you want that money there because you want to increase student achievement. Really, at the core of all of this is to better educate our students.
Absolutely,
A lot of people are asking, what for the lowest performing schools, what do you do, how do you hold them accountable, and maybe even more importantly, how can your plan fix that?
Sure, and that it will get corrected. That's a second dimension of the plan. The first one is this financial piece. Even more important is the academic performance, and that's the idea of creating the Detroit Education Commission, which would be appointed by the mayor and myself, have a chief education officer that then would focus in on 2 or 3 things. It would focus in on better reporting, better transparency of the performance of all schools in Detroit, all public schools, whether they be DPS, charter, EAA. The second thing it would do is it would run a voluntary enrollment system to give parents an easier opportunity to see all these factors, issues, what school's best for their kids, and to get them into those schools. And the last thing is they would have the power to open and close schools that are lower performing schools. Because what we need to do is raise the bar of performance.
Will you meet opposition in the legislature about this?
Yeah, I think we will in some ways. Again, there are a lot of issues, both from people within Detroit and other parts of Michigan that are concerned about the financial costs. But this is something that's important.
The Coalition for the Future of Detroit School Children, and they've been largely critical of about everything you've tried so far, but this one, right, they put out a news release largely supporting your ideas, but they still do raise the question of the school of choice. They think parents need to have that choice.
Yeah, well, they'll get that through the voluntary enrollment system. And again, we'll work hard on getting the best schools for the kids. I think the governance issues, they'll still have some concerns, as I would imagine the mayor does, but let's get this started. Let's get in the legislative process, because there are people in Detroit that want to see more governance from quicker and faster, because it does transition to Detroiters at some point in the future under my plan. On the other hand, you're going to have people in the other parts of Michigan saying if we're investing $700 million, the state should have some say. So I want to get this going. Let's have a good discussion and let's come out with a good answer.
Well,